If you're tired of feeling overwhelmed by endless to-do lists that never seem to get finished, you're not alone. For many of us, especially if you're ADHD, autistic, or neurodiverse, like me, traditional to-do lists feel like a never-ending source of pressure and stress. What seems like a simple, straightforward productivity tool can quickly spiral into something that amplifies feelings of failure. And there's a reason for that. To-do lists are built on the assumption that tasks will be completed in a linear, predictable order. You write down your goals for the day, and ideally, move from one item to the next, checking things off as you go. But for those of us with ADHD or autism, our brains don't always cooperate with this plan. The problem isn't that we don't want to get things done, it's that to-do lists are structured in a way that doesn't align with how our minds work. The pressure to check things off, especially when your brain doesn't respond well to rigid structure, can lead to paralysis. Rather than motivating you, the list becomes overwhelming. And once that overwhelm sets in, it's easy to either shut down completely or start bouncing between tasks without finishing anything. By the end of the day, you're left with several half-completed tasks, but nothing to cross off. It's not just frustrating, it's exhausting. And this is where traditional to-do lists fail people like us. But don't worry, there is a solution, and surprisingly enough, it still involves a list. In today's video, I'm going to show you a new approach that helps you stay on track without relying on those frustrating to-do lists.
So who am I? I'm Delin Blake, a neurodivergent published author, book coach, and former ghostwriter of over 200 books. You can check me out at delinblake.com. And I'm going to share with you my experiences of the best ways to write books, even when you're ADHD and autistic like me and work a full-time job. Because the modern world makes it easier than ever for us to achieve our author dreams. And I have a free gift for you. Be sure to check it out in the description below. It's going to make writing go so much faster and easier and give you the clarity you need.
The core problem with traditional to-do lists is that they don't account for the way our brains work. They assume we'll move from one task to the next in a predictable order, checking each one off neatly. But in reality, our days are often far more chaotic and non-linear. Our attention shifts, new priorities emerge, and sometimes just getting started is a victory in itself. Traditional lists fail to acknowledge these realities, which is why they often leave us feeling defeated rather than accomplished. But here's the good news. There's a different way to approach your day that not only feels better, but also helps you stay productive, without the overwhelming pressure of a to-do list. It's called the Tada List, and it flips the script on how we measure progress. Instead of focusing on what you need to do, the Tada List celebrates what you've already done. It's a simple but powerful shift in perspective. While a to-do list is like a long mountain to climb, the Tada List shows you how much ground you've already covered. Each small accomplishment, no matter how minor, gets a spot on your list. Whether it's sending a single email, writing a paragraph for your novel, or even taking a break to reset, everything counts. And for those of us whose brains don't always function in a straight line, this approach can be a game changer. Send an important email? Ta-da! Wrote something for your book? Ta-da! Took a break to recharge? Ta-da! Every action, no matter how minor it might seem, gets a place on your to-do list. This approach is especially effective for people like us because it acknowledges the reality of our days. Where plans change, focus shifts, and the unexpected often takes priority. By celebrating what you've done, you create a positive feedback loop that motivates you to keep moving forward. This is especially important because our short-term memory isn't the greatest, so it's common to feel you haven't accomplished anything when really you've accomplished quite a bit. When you're feeling down on yourself, take out your Tada list and read over what you have done. This will give you the motivation to keep going. But let's get into why the Tada list works so well. It's not just about shifting focus. It taps into how our brains are wired, particularly when it comes to motivation. Because staying motivated is one of the hardest parts of getting things done. This isn't just about willpower. It's actually tied to brain chemistry, specifically how our brains handle dopamine.
I hope you're enjoying the video so far and that you've gotten some aha moments. If so, remember to like to see more content like this.
Dopamine is the neurotransmitter responsible for motivation and reward. It's like the brain's feel-good chemical, released when we accomplish something or experience something exciting. In people with ADHD or autism, the brain's dopamine system doesn't work in the same way it does for neurotypical people. Tasks that might feel naturally rewarding for others don't provide the same rush of dopamine for us, especially if they're boring or repetitive. That's why doing things like answering emails, tidying up, or even writing can sometimes feel impossible. Without that dopamine hit, it's hard to get started, let alone stay on track. The lack of immediate reward makes it even harder to start. But the Tada List flips the script. It focuses on what's happening now and what you've already done, giving you that instant feeling of accomplishment. Instead of a mountain, you're building a series of small, manageable hills, each one a reminder that you're making progress. This approach also taps into our need for novelty. Our brains crave variety and often struggle with tasks that are repetitive or feel stagnant. The Tada List keeps things fresh by allowing you to focus on the present moment. It's dynamic because you're constantly adding to it. There's something incredibly satisfying about seeing your progress unfold in real time. It's not about a static list of must-dos. It's about capturing the flow of your day and recognizing that every little bit counts. In fact, this ties into something called the Zeigarnik effect, a psychological phenomenon where unfinished tasks stick in your mind and create a sense of tension. Traditional to-do lists often amplify this effect, as you see all the unchecked tasks looming over you. But by focusing on what's done, the Tada List helps alleviate that mental tension, allowing you to feel more at ease with what you've accomplished, rather than stressed about what's left. It gives your brain closure, helping to break that cycle of procrastination and anxiety that can be so paralyzing for writers like us. Consistently using a Tada List can have powerful long-term effects on both your productivity and mental health. Over time, this practice can transform how you approach your work, how you feel about your progress, and even how creative and energized you feel each day. First, let's explore the long-term impact on productivity. The beauty of the Tada List is that it encourages you to focus on your progress, not perfection. By recognizing every small step you take throughout the day, you begin to build a sense of forward momentum. Instead of getting stuck in a loop of feeling like you're not doing enough, you start to see just how much you're actually accomplishing. And the more you see your progress, the more motivated you become to keep going. This shift in focus does something crucial for your productivity. It reduces the overwhelming pressure to do everything at once. Traditional to-do lists often make you feel like you have to conquer the entire mountain in one go. But the Tada List allows you to break things down into smaller, manageable tasks, celebrating each step along the way. Over time, this practice builds positive habits, making it easier to stay productive because you're no longer paralyzed by the fear of not finishing everything. You're building a pattern of success, which reinforces your confidence and ability to stay productive in the long run. Then there's the effect on your mental health. Traditional to-do lists often make us feel like we're in a constant state of not enough, not productive enough, not focused enough, not good enough. And for neurodiverse people, that feeling can be amplified tenfold. Each unchecked task can feel like a reminder that you're falling short. Over time, this can lead to chronic stress, anxiety, and even burnout. The Tada List, on the other hand, helps to counteract that stress by reframing how you measure your success. By focusing on what you have done, rather than what's left, you're essentially giving yourself permission to feel good about your progress. This mindset shift reduces the pressure you put on yourself, which naturally lowers anxiety levels. The more you use the Tada List, the more you'll notice that you're kinder to yourself, and this self-compassion can have a ripple effect on your overall mental well-being. You're no longer constantly beating yourself up over what's undone. Instead, you're actively celebrating what you've accomplished.
By the way, I have a free gift for you that's going to supercharge your writing and give you the clarity you need to move forward on your book. You can get it in the description of the video below.
This also leads to a significant reduction in burnout. Burnout often happens when we push ourselves too hard, constantly striving to do more without ever acknowledging what we've already done. When you're only focused on the next task, it's easy to lose sight of the progress you've made, and that's when exhaustion and frustration start to creep in. But with a Tada List, you're continually acknowledging and celebrating your wins, which helps you pace yourself. You're less likely to feel burnt out because you're not carrying the weight of unmet expectations. You're honoring your achievements in real time. There's also a creative boost that comes from using a Tada list. Creativity thrives when we feel relaxed, accomplished, and free from overwhelming pressure. When you're constantly worried about what you haven't done, it's hard to tap into that creative flow. But when you focus on what you've already achieved, you create a positive, motivating environment for your brain to thrive. You're essentially setting the stage for more creative thinking because you're not bogged down by feelings of inadequacy. As the practice of using a Tada list becomes a regular part of your life, you'll notice how much your relationship with your work changes. Instead of feeling like your work is a constant uphill battle, you'll start to feel more connected to it, more in control, and more capable. It's a sustainable way to stay engaged with your writing or any project you're working on because it honors the nonlinear nature of progress. Some days will be more productive than others, but with a Tada list, you'll always be able to see the value in what you've done. Over time, this practice builds resilience. On tough days, when you feel like you haven't done much, you can look back at your Tada list and remind yourself of how far you've come. It's not about perfection or completing every task. It's about recognizing the small victories along the way. And that mindset is what keeps you going in the long run. Now, let's talk about how you can integrate the Tada list into your daily life in a way that works for you. The beauty of the Tada list is its flexibility, so you can adjust it to fit whatever your day looks like. Whether it's a packed writing session, a day full of distractions, or a creative slump. Here's how to get started. Start by starting small. When you're just getting into the habit of using a Tada list, don't overwhelm yourself by trying to capture every little thing. Start by jotting down just a few things you've accomplished each day. It could be something as simple as opened my manuscript or wrote a single sentence. The key here is to recognize that even small steps count. By focusing on just a handful of achievements, you'll start building the habit of celebrating your progress. As you get more comfortable, keep your Tada list nearby. Make sure it's easy to access throughout the day, whether you're using a notebook, your phone, or a whiteboard. This allows you to jot down each accomplishment as it happens. The sooner you write it down, the better, because that's when the dopamine hit is strongest. You want to reinforce the positive feeling of having completed something right when it happens. Plus, having your list visible means you'll be reminded of your progress, which will keep you motivated as the day goes on. Next, use your Tada list as a reflection tool. At the end of the day, take 5 minutes to review what you've written down. This is especially helpful when you feel like you didn't accomplish much, which is a common feeling for neurodiverse people, even on productive days. Seeing everything laid out in front of you, no matter how small the tasks might seem, can provide a sense of accomplishment that you might otherwise miss. By making this a daily ritual, you'll start to reshape how you view your productivity and stop focusing so much on what's still undone. During particularly busy or chaotic days, the Tada list becomes a way to anchor yourself in the present moment. When your brain is bouncing between tasks or new priorities pop up that weren't on your original to-do list, the Tada list helps you track what's actually happening in real time. Instead of feeling guilty for not sticking to your original plan, you can write down the things you did do, whether that's responding to an unexpected email, having an impromptu brainstorming session, or taking a necessary break to recharge. The list shows you that even on days when it feels like nothing is going according to plan, you're still making progress. For those moments when procrastination hits hard, the Tada list can be a gentle way to pull yourself out of it. When starting feels impossible, the idea of completing a massive task can feel overwhelming. But with the Tada list, you can shift your focus from big, intimidating goals to smaller actions that are much easier to begin. Instead of thinking, I need to write 1,000 words today, focus on something tiny like open my document or write one sentence. Once you've completed that first small action, add it to your Tada list. The simple act of acknowledging that you've done something can break the cycle of procrastination and help you build momentum. And when you're in a creative slump, the Tada list can also be incredibly helpful. Often, when you're stuck creatively, it feels like nothing you do is moving the needle. The list reminds you that even on days when creativity isn't flowing freely, you're still putting in effort, and that matters. You might write down things like researched ideas, brainstormed character names, or even took a break to clear my mind. Every bit of movement counts, and the Tada List will reflect that.
By the way, I have a free gift for you that's going to supercharge your writing and give you the clarity you need to move forward on your book. You can get it in the description of the video below.
Let's talk about how you can make the Tada List even more fun and visually engaging. Because let's be real, sometimes seeing just words on a page doesn't give you that spark of satisfaction, right? By turning the Tada List into a more interactive and creative experience, you'll add an extra layer of motivation to keep going. One easy way to make the Tada List more exciting is to use different colors. Grab some colorful pens or markers and assign a different color for different types of tasks. For example, use blue for writing-related accomplishments, green for personal care tasks, and red for anything outside of work like errands or household chores. When you see your list at the end of the day, the variety of colors gives you a visual sense of balance and reminds you of all the areas you've made progress in. It's more than just a list. It's a colorful snapshot of your day. Another fun idea is to use stickers or stamps. Yes, like when you were a kid and got stickers for doing well in school. There's something so rewarding about giving yourself a physical sign of achievement. You can assign different stickers for different levels of accomplishments, like a gold star for something bigger or maybe cute little icons for everyday tasks. Every time you complete something, slap a sticker on your Tada List. It might sound simple, but that little extra burst of satisfaction makes a huge difference when you need that motivation boost. If you want to take it a step further, consider creating a win journal. This can be a dedicated notebook or digital file where you write down your accomplishments in more detail, like victories or milestones, however big or small. Think of it as a record of your achievements, almost like a trophy cabinet for your productivity. You can personalize it by decorating the pages, adding doodles, or even including photos or clippings that represent what you've done. Over time, this win journal becomes something you can flip through whenever you're feeling down or stuck. It's a tangible reminder of how far you've come, even on the days when you don't feel like you're getting much done. By making your Tada List more visual and interactive, you're giving yourself a creative outlet that not only tracks your progress, but also makes you excited to keep adding to it. It turns daily tasks into something to celebrate, and that shift in perspective can make a huge difference in how you approach your work and your day. The Tada List isn't just a tool, it's a mindset shift. By focusing on what you've accomplished, rather than what's left undone, you're giving yourself credit for the progress you make each day. And that's something we all deserve, especially when traditional productivity methods often leave us feeling behind. Whether it's writing a single sentence, answering a long overdue email, or simply taking time to recharge, every action counts. The more you recognize and celebrate these small wins, the more you'll see just how much you're truly capable of. So next time you feel overwhelmed or like you're not doing enough, remember, there's always something to celebrate. Turn to your Tada List, acknowledge your progress, and keep moving forward. You're doing more than you think, and that deserves to be honored every step of the way.
Until next time, this is Delin Blake saying write on and claim your free gift at the link below.